Hey buddies! So here we are talking about coffee. I'm actually full of energy right now, but I didn't have coffee, but that's a discussion for another time. We can talk about it more if you want. But I just wanted to get into, and also sorry for this delay. I planned to do this with you guys last week, but then I lost my voice, which makes it hard to go live and explain things. So there you go. But anyways, okay, so I want to cover a couple things with you guys. I want to cover what are the best kinds of coffee, because not all coffee is created equal. I want to go through the best ways to have it, because even where it starts from, also it's really affected by like what you put in it and how you serve it. That makes a big difference. I also want to cover who does best with it. Like, some people do really, really well on coffee, and some people need to be a little bit more careful. And so I want to get through that with you guys. Just kind of like what to watch out for. Okay, so, and if you have any more questions that are related to that, please feel free to comment. Say hi. I see you're on, but I don't know who you are. It's not showing me. I don't know, Facebook is weird sometimes. But okay, the best kinds of coffee. So the truth is that coffee actually can be really healthy, and I feel like it's so funny coming from a nutritionist. It's like sometimes how I don't like fight with people about breakfast. People always assume I'm going to be like super into breakfast, and sometimes I am, depending on the person, but not always. So coffee is another one of those things that I think especially people know that I am more in the holistic world and more comprehensive, and I feel like in that world, my husband's on and pressing a million buttons. In that world, there's a lot more like hesitancy, I want to say, towards coffee. And I'm cautious with coffee, but generally speaking, coffee can be amazing for you. And I'm not anti-coffee. Hey, best coffee replacement for us addicts that can't have any. Okay, that's a good question. Hey, Jennifer. Let me get to that. Or I'll just answer it now. Basically, there's no legit replacement for coffee. Like, there's no, they have like those mushroom things or those barley things, or like people like, have green tea. And I'm like, yeah, if you want green tea, it's great, but don't like have a cup of green tea and expect it to make you feel like coffee does or taste like coffee does. I guess, Kayvon, tell me, what are you addicted to about it? Is it the taste? Is it the experience? Is it the way it makes you feel? Is it that it helps you think? If you tell me more of like what you're looking for the replacement to do, then I'll have a better answer for you. But across the board, I'm not anti-coffee. Plenty of people do really well with it. And what I do say is I would really, really encourage you, whenever possible, to actually get it organic, because just like anything that's produced in like mass quantities, there's a huge grade difference in the quality, not just the flavor. So like, I'm not a coffee snob. I can't tell, Rivka, I need my coffee, lots of it, everything, you live everything. Okay, so awesome. It's not necessarily a problem for you to have it. I'll get to that in a second. But I'm not a coffee snob in the sense that like, I need to have like the French press or like the fancy this and that. I don't. I feel good when I have it, and it helps me think, which I'll get to in a minute. But I am a little bit, I don't want to say snobby. I'm conscientious. Let's get an espresso to make organic so I can use my latte machine. That's a fabulous idea, Rivka. And if you do that, I will come over and have it with you. I do try and get it organic because it can be really, really sprayed. And it's relatively easy to get organic. It's not like super expensive. I don't know. Honestly, I'm such like not a coffee snob. I just get like the instant, and I know all of you coffee lovers are like horrified by that. There's this organic instant brand called, I forgot. It's at Whole Foods. There's probably more than one, but I only found one kosher one. So, but I have heard from coffee snobs at my house that they're like, this is the best instant coffee I've ever had. I wouldn't know if it was instant if you didn't tell me. So there you go on that. But yeah, so because the truth is that coffee can have a lot of vitamins and minerals in it. So in addition to trying to avoid the pesticides and the blah, blah, blah that would be in conventional coffee, I also want to maximize the health benefits. There's also like a lot of phytonutrients and a lot of just really beneficial things that, not everyone's so good at eating all their veggies, but most people find it pretty easy to get coffee down. And so I'm really not anti, and I would just say, try and pump like, what is it? Punch as much bang for your buck as you can. And if you're drinking it anyways, just get the best quality you can find. So that's that. The best ways to have it. So, I mean like in preparation. So if you are like super into coffee and you have a coffee grinder, that's awesome and good for you. I'm not really talking so much about that as much as I'm talking about like what you add to it. So black coffee is fine if you're into that. Like some people are super hardcore. Like for me, it's like really intense and I can't do it. But I really would encourage that. I would say adding cream is better than adding like milk, and certainly better than adding any kind of like sugar or honey or like maple syrup. That's my husband's. He likes to add maple syrup. Sorry, I got a call. I forgot to put my phone on Don't Disturb. If you want to add a sweetener to it, then definitely one of the more wholesome ones like maple syrup or honey or coconut sugar would be better. I think out of taste, I think that maple syrup is like by far the best. But from a health perspective, the cream is actually great. The best quality cream you can find, whether you're getting dairy cream if you're a person who does well on dairy, or you do like coconut cream, that's fine too. Because it has very, 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 very mild insulin response. And the reason why you care, even if, please God, you're not diabetic, so you're like, I don't know what insulin is, why are you talking to me about it, Shayna? I'll tell you why. Because insulin is the hormone that tells your body to store fat or burn fat. And when we have high levels of insulin, that's what makes our body say store fat. And when we have low levels of insulin, that's where our body burns fat. Like that's what happens overnight when we're sleeping, right? That's why we don't wake up like a disaster, even if we haven't eaten in like 11, 12 hours. We're fine. So anyways, cream in the coffee is great because it cuts the bitterness, has a lot of minerals in it, and sometimes some vitamins depending on the quality of the cream you're able to get. It will actually help bring the vitamins in the coffee into your bloodstream. So that's awesome too. What I would say to watch out for is if you're one of these people that loves coffee and you love, going to, what's it called? What's the, whatever, Starbucks or Coffee Bean or whatever, and you're like, get your orange mocha frappuccino, frappa bappa, whatever it is. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but I think we just need to be honest and call a spade, and like, you're having dessert in a cup. You know what I'm saying? Like each squirt of one of those like caramel or whatever's, I don't know how much sugar it has, but I'm sure it has a ton. And so I'm not really worried about the calories from the cream, but I am much more concerned about the sugar in it, because that majorly will spike your blood sugar and then drop you. And it also will majorly spike your insulin. So with your blood sugar, you're gonna feel the difference in that much more. Insulin, you don't feel so much. Blood sugar, you do. When your blood sugar spikes, at first, you're like so excited. Think of like your kids when you give them candy, or like at a birthday party, they're like, oh, I'm so excited. They're like, woohoo, on top of the world. And then think about like, at the end of the birthday party when like all the kids are crying, right? That's because their blood sugar dropped. And that's what happens to you too when you like have your coffee and you're like, I'm so on it. I'm like so good at my life, and you like feel productive. And then like an hour later, you're just like, I feel like a piece of crap. What happened to me? If you would have just had the coffee with the cream, that wouldn't have happened. But it's like the 7, like sprints or whatever, squirts is the word, of the caramel that did it. And specifically when there's caffeine in your system, you're more sensitive to the blood sugar, like going crazy. So just be aware of that. And so again, it's not the worst thing in the world to have. There are things I'm much more against than like, a sweetened coffee. But I do think that we just need to be honest and say a sweetened coffee is dessert in a cup. So like, let's just call it like it is, right? Like it's dessert in a cup. Let's not pretend it's like a, it's anything else. It's dessert in a cup and you should enjoy it. But use it in the moderation that you would a brownie, because that's basically what it is. So that's, as far as the best ways to have it and what to watch out for in that sense. People who do really well on coffee, generally, of course, these are all general. I don't know your personal situation. But I can tell you that a lot of people who struggle with focus. So one of the ways that I found that I do great on coffee, that I learned this actually was I was in high school, And my mom was a health nut, and at the time she wouldn't let me take any like ADD medication. I wasn't like wildly ADD, but I definitely like took me way too long to do my work. And now I'm grateful that she didn't let me take it, but then I was just like annoyed because I was like, ah. But I had a mentor and tutor at the time that was like, hey, why don't you like drink a little coffee right now and tell me how you feel? And I didn't like notice that I felt different, but it just took me like 25 minutes to do my homework instead of like 3 hours. So she was like, hey, did you notice anything? And I was like, no, I feel the same. She was like, you did your homework so fast. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't take like 75 breaks to stare off into space. Right? And so if you are the person who is prone to taking like 75 breaks in 10 minutes to like stare off into space, people like that generally do really well with coffee. Excuse me. And again, however, the caveat is if you put sweetener in that coffee, like forget it. Because maybe you'll focus for like 10 minutes and then you're going to be just bouncing off the walls. So if you're trying to kind of like self-medicate in that way, I would definitely recommend just doing the creamer and not adding sugar. Snap, sorry, I forgot to, again, put my phone on Don't Disturb. I'm getting all those notifications. So those kind of people do really, really great. If you are a person who has like, is prone to like anxiety, like you kind of like, you know, these people also like, they kind of like, you know, like they pick at their hair sometimes, or they're like always picking pimples or a scab. They're like ripping off the same scab forever. Like little things, not like, I'm not talking about like clinical anxiety. I'm not in a position to be like talking about that. I'm just talking about people that like low grade, like whatever, kind of hard to relax, find themselves a little more anxious than the situation calls for, and they know that, and you know that about yourself. Then I'd be more mindful about coffee, because it just can be like too much for your system. Too much stimulation. So for someone who's having trouble focusing, it can pull you in. But when a person's like hyper focused, it can be like too intense. And so for that, I'd be like, why don't you have a hot cocoa? You know, which I have recipes for on here. I think. I'm pretty sure I did it with you guys a long time ago. It's one of the first ones we did, I think. If not, I'll do it again, but I'm pretty sure. And so that's what I would watch out for. I have notes. Hold on, I'm gonna check my notes. The other thing that I was going to say for it is that, as many of you know, it's also, like, coffee's like a pretty legit appetite suppressant. Maybe you don't know that. Maybe you think you just don't get hungry till noon because you have 3 cups of coffee. But I will tell you, it is a legit appetite suppressant. And that is not a problem in itself. I'm not I would be, like, not into, like, a pill, because I'm like, now you're really messing with your system. But, like, coffee is a real food, sort of drink, whatever. What I would say is to be mindful of that and don't abuse it, and don't use it to mask other problems. If you are a person that struggles with like nighttime binging in any capacity, I don't mean again necessarily clinical, I just mean like, no, you're done with work and you had dinner and the kids are in bed, and now like either you're suddenly super hungry or you're just like so like drained that you just want to stuff your face. Especially like you're just like so hungry, like now you just got to eat. I would be aware of that, because that can be very related to like not eating enough during the day. So if you're drinking coffee and kind of ignoring the fact that your stomach is growling for several hours, and then you binge like a crazy person later, I would say that's not doing you a service. And to make sure that you're not using the coffee to mask other symptoms that you have. For example, also with the focus issue, you know, if you around, and this is so common, you know, around 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock, people start like getting like so crazy at their desk, they can't work anymore. They get like a little moody, they get really hungry again, and they're just like, oh, I need to go get another cup of coffee, an orange mocha frappuccino, whatever, right? Very often, it's not that they're like so hungry. It's not that they're like so having trouble focusing. It's just you've been sitting for too damn long. You know, like we're not designed to sit for so long. And I can tell you for myself that, you know, I know not everyone has the luxury of like creating their own schedule and working for themselves, but I do think all of us have like some sort of flexibility, or I'd like to think that. I hope you do. And sorry, I'm still having this little cold a little bit. Very often, if you just at that time when you feel like, oh my God, I got to take my next coffee, if you just like get up and walk around the block in the sun, like you'll come back feeling just as energized. No, it doesn't taste as delicious, but again, if you're having like a coffee just with cream, it's probably fine. Although even like having it 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I feel for a lot of people can really affect your sleep, and it makes it way harder to wind down later. So again, I'm just saying coffee is powerful. That's why we all have such like a strong response to it, and we want to just not abuse it, right? If you're struggling with any kind of long-term chronic illness or chronic diseases, but issues you've been struggling with for a long time, if you've been having like crazy headaches or indigestion or pre-diabetic or hormone issues, cycle issues, I would be especially careful. Again, not saying that I don't necessarily take my clients to deal with those things. I don't necessarily take them off coffee or even recommend that they go off coffee. But what I'm saying is those kinds of issues, generally speaking, are just a cluster. I'm not going to say the second half of what I was going to say of cues that your body's been giving you for a long time that we're not listening to. Maybe you don't know how. It's not a blame game, right? It's just what I see happening. That if you don't sleep when you're tired, and you don't eat when you're hungry, and you don't speak your truth when you feel you have to, like those things just kind of just like pile up inside of you. And I know I just got really like woo-woo for a second, but I do think it's related. And they don't go anywhere. And so a lot of what happens is like, it's not like the mismanaged hormones, like the grass. I accidentally picked a little piece absentmindedly. It's not that magically someone's hormones get thrown off, or magically someone's digestion gets messed up, or magically someone just like can't recover from whatever they're dealing with. It's that their body's like, I need help, and we just don't listen. Your body's like, hey, I'm hungry, I need help to deal with this cold, and we're like, I'm too busy working. So we'll use a cold for an example, right? Or then our body's like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I need to sleep so I can fight this cold, and we're like, I got work to do, right? So coffee, because it's so strong, we could easily abuse it and overpower and not listen to what our body's saying, right? So if you can't, hey Rachel, we're talking about coffee, right? Love the cap, thanks. It's so funny. It's this is my son's cap. I think it's a little small, but I like it. Anyways, cappuccino. Cappuccino is a little strong for me. I'm very lightweight, but that's okay. But the bottom line of what I to encapsulate is that coffee has a lot of benefits, and we can use them to our benefit. And I think that the overall general thing to be mindful of is you don't want to use it to mask whatever symptoms you're dealing with. If you're chronically tired, or you have indigestion, or you have hormonal issues, or whatever it is that you're dealing with, that we don't want to use coffee as like a right? You don't want to like do that where your body's saying, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm fighting a cold, and you're just like, no, I'm fine, I'm just going to keep working, I'm just going to stay up late, I'm just going to do what I got to do, because that will only drive the pathology of whatever your body's struggling with further, rather than like, okay, coffee helped me focus, but now you know what, I'm hungry, which means my body needs food, so I'm going to give it food. And now I'm tired, which means my body's like needs to sleep, and I'm going to give my body that rest so that I can do what I got to do. And so that would be like the main thing that I'd say to be careful of. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys. So I'll do a little recap for those who came late. That number one, the best kinds of coffee. Quality matters. I'm not anti-coffee. Coffee actually has a lot of vitamins and minerals in it, and a lot of people do really well on it. And the best quality you can get is awesome. So if you can get organic, great. I also would just be mindful, be careful of having it with sweeteners, because that can really throw off your blood sugar and make you feel like a disaster. That's why people have like kind of this like weird relationship with coffee, where they feel so good and then they feel so bad. It's kind of like ice cream and candy and brownies in general that makes you feel really good and then really bad. But it should not do that to you if you have it with a good quality fat like cream or coconut cream. Those things do really well, and I would say they're even better than plain milk or almond milk or soy milk for sure. I don't encourage soy milk, I should say. I'm tooting my own horn. So if you want to just do shavuos really easily and not make yourself nuts and not be like, oh, like I see in all these like Jewish mom Facebook groups, people are being like, oh my gosh, I don't have my menu. I'm like, I mean, like, I love going to people's houses that do that have these like elaborate meals, but that is not me. And it does not have to be you. And it can be you if that's something that gives you joy. But I would like to officially let you off the hook if that's not something that brings you joy, to like just do it in a way that's minimal and focus the other time on things that gives you joy, because that matters. So have an awesome holiday, and I hope you enjoy your coffee. And one more thing I'll say, I think that Kayvon was asking about it. Let me say one more. There was a couple more questions about the coffee I didn't answer that I said it would. Okay. Best coffee replacements. I'm gonna go through that. So if you're looking for just a little bit of like caffeine to help you think, but you can't do coffee because it hurts your stomach or whatever reason, green tea is great. The issue is that, maybe I'm not a real health nut, that I think green tea kind of tastes gross. But I like jasmine green tea, which you can find. I found it at Whole Foods. Of course, it's like stupidly expensive. But whatever, like how much tea do you go through, And I use the same bag all day because it's so strong. And I find if you brew it for too long, then it like tastes kind of like bitter. But if you just leave it for a few minutes, jasmine green tea is the one they give you at Chinese restaurant that like kind of has that like nice light flavor. So if you're looking for this like a light caffeine hit, I would do that. If you're looking for the experience, of like holding the mug and it's so warm and cozy and you feel like, something in my life is working, right? So then you could experiment with like the different ones. I never tasted like any of those like mushroom barley stuff, and I never tasted that and was like, oh, this feels like coffee. But I was like, this is pretty good, like it's okay as long as you're not asking it to be coffee. And so the other thing for that experience I think also works really well is like a good quality hot cocoa, which I make with like raw cacao powder, and I'm happy to have it unsweetened. If you're like that too, then awesome. I just do like raw cacao powder and like some like heavy cream and then like hot water, and I melt it all together, and it's amazing to me. If you're like, ew, Shayna, how can you have hot cocoa that's not sweet? Then like add some sweetener to it, and like to each their own. But I'm comfortable not having it with sweetener because I know how good it is for me not to have it. And I feel the difference. I'm a person who's really sensitive to sweetener, which is like a big part of what kind of got me on this whole journey in the first place. It's like I will get so emotional if I have like more than a little bit of sugar. And so like I'll be so happy and then so sad. And so for me it's like pretty easy to just kind of let it go. So that's as far as replacements. What was the other question? It's the taste and what really wakes me up. Okay, so for the taste, I already spoke about that. And for waking up, sunlight and fresh air and moving your body. I know it's not like a sexy answer. It's like not what people want to hear. It makes me think of that meme with Michael from The Office, Steve Carell, where they're like, what should I do to be healthy? And they're like, and it's a meme of like, and the answer's like, eat healthy food and exercise. And he's like, I don't like that. Which I thought was great. But as far as waking up, I find nothing does it like fresh air and exercise, and also something interesting to you. Like for me, I'm an extrovert, so when I'm interacting with people, it just like turns my brain on. Also, like if I listen to a podcast that I'm interested in, that also like my brain starts working. I don't have to like fight with it to wake up. Or just like music that I like. I find, it's like it's getting inside yourself to like what turns you on in order to wake you up. So, and physically, you don't have to like go for like a jog. I mean, you certainly can, but like just to walk around the block, fresh air in the sun, like that really gets your blood moving, which is what you need to get your brain working. Okay. Rivka said, the experience and thoughts, you love everything about it. I think that's okay. So love everything about it. And what I would say about that is like savor it, enjoy it, do it. Like I feel sometimes like the things we love most, we kind of like rush through them. Maybe like we feel guilty, or like we're trying to fit it in where it doesn't really fit. Look at those roses on my neighbor's lawn. So I would say like try to have it in a time where you can like literally enjoy the experience of it, because that's just healthy in general. Yes, it also affects your metabolism and your brain and all those things, but I think it's so important just because like you're a person who deserves to enjoy your life. And so if you can sit and have your coffee in a way that just like tastes good, it's so different. I'll tell you what it is, it's so much more satisfying of what you're looking for. Most of us, so many of us that enjoy coffee, enjoy it because of the experience. You feel like, it's so nice and tastes good and like I matter and it's something I like. And if you're doing that like while you're you're rushing around, it doesn't have the same effect, right? But if you can kind of like sit quietly or whatever it is and just feel your thing and enjoy it. Hey Mel, my sister-in-law's watching. I love you. I'm gonna wave. Facebook gives me the option to wave. That I just think that's such a sane way to start or whatever it is in your day, just to like be where you are, you know, like all those like Zen people, like be here now, be there, be where you are. When you're drinking your coffee, drink your coffee and like enjoy it and enjoy the taste and enjoy the flavor and don't feel guilty and don't think, oh, I put sweetener and Shana said I shouldn't. If you did, enjoy it, because like feeling guilty is not going to make it better. You know, like it's only going to make you want more, because now it's like the forbidden fruit. So that's the deal with coffee. That it's powerful and it has a lot of benefits. And I feel honestly, it's like anything powerful in life. Has its benefits. We want to use it to help us and be careful not to use it to drown out the other parts of us that are important but not as loud. Isn't that deep? So I don't mean loud like volume, right? I mean loud like the things that your body asks for. Like, for example, when you are full, your body doesn't scream, I'm full, right? Your body's just like, I'm satisfied. And if you ignore it and you're just like, more cake, like it's very easy to overpower, right? So the same with coffee. Like you'll feel if you have too much, you get like the jitters. I'm like that. I like coffee, but I just have a little, because otherwise I get like too much. I have a very sensitive constitution, like regardless of what it is. So I have to watch for that. But there you go. That's my coffee rant. And if you want, when I get home, I can show you the picture of the brand that I get. Mount Hagen, that's what it's called, I think. Mount Hagen. It's the best dehydrated organic coffee you can find in my I'm not a coffee connoisseur. But there you go. All right, I love you guys. I hope you all have, whoever's celebrating Shavuos, I hope it's fun and meaningful and not crazy making. And if right now the way you're planning it is crazy making, I would recommend and gently encourage you to change that. Like cancel some of your guests, or like drop your menu plan. Like instead of having like fish and soup and this and that salad and this dessert, like just do salads and a meat or something still simple. That's what I do. Or if you're having a bunch of guests and you don't want to cancel, be like, hey, can you bring something legitimate? Like, can you bring the dessert? Can you bring fish? Can you bring a big salad? And you know what? People will say yes. And I think that you're doing a big gift to yourself, and you give a gift to them and everyone else. I feel like it's so important to change the tide of the expectations that we put on ourselves and we put on each other. That when something happens, it means someone did it. So when you show up to someone's house and it's a giant spread, someone did that. And if that someone did it and it makes them happy and filled with joy, that's awesome. But in my limited life experience, I find that the majority of the time when that's happening, the person who did it does not feel amazing about it. Usually they're like drained and tired and don't enjoy it so much, and like they're kind of like on because they're hosting and they kind of feel like they have this like level that they have to reach. And again, I'm generalizing, and there's definitely people who like thrive in that position and they have tons of help and